So we're going to start sitting on the mat today. So just bring your hands to your knees, take a moment to align your spine. If you have a hard time getting your spine aligned in a cross-legged position, it's sometimes helpful to sit up on something. So, I have a yoga block here. I don't know how many people just have yoga blocks lying around their house, but you could use a book. You could use, here you could even use like a cushion or something like that, because at home you might have something that you wouldn't find in a yoga studio that would be helpful. So if it's helpful for you to sit up on something, and you just put not your whole legs, but you put your hips on that, and then your knees usually can drop open a little more easily, and often it's easier to stack the shoulders over the hips. So feel free to use that as an option if you need it. Take your hands to your knees, and again, just try to align your spine. So that means we do have a natural alignment of the spine. The shoulders are over the hips. There's a little bit of a curve, so we're not trying to take the curve out, but we're trying to rely more on, our bones and our joints and things like that to line us up, as opposed to using a lot of muscle strength to keep us straight. Just let your head float on top of the neck. Again, the neck is part of the spine, and it will just stack naturally if you can find that. Although we don't often we're not always aligned in real life, so it may not feel real natural, but try not to let it feel painful or strained. Close your eyes. Give yourself a moment just to check in with how you're feeling today. I know it's morning, so maybe you got out of bed feeling achy. Maybe you got out of bed feeling like you were just ready to run. Notice your energy level. Sometimes we get out of bed and we have I wake up sometimes after having had a dream, and I'll have an emotional response to the dream, but I won't even remember what the dream was. So sometimes we just carry emotion with us, whether we know why or not. So if you've got anything going on, just let yourself check in with it. Don't try to figure it out or sort it out. Just notice where you're at today. And then focusing on the breath. It's pretty simple, but it's interesting if you notice. In a couple minutes, we're going to move into a Ujjayi breathing practice, but for now, let's just keep the breath neutral, natural, not try to fix or change. Go ahead and open the eyes. Take the arms out and up. Reach for the ceiling, and then interlace the fingers. Press the palms up. Really reach, but let the shoulders soften down and away from the ears. And then maybe just a little bit of the torso, turn to the right, just a small turn. Come back through center, a little turn to the left. Ooh, just see what you can do with the muscles of the back. Turn back to the right. Turn back to the left. And then take the hands down, take the right hand to the floor, take the left arm up and over. Little side stretch here, just breathe into it. If you want to go deeper, you could crawl your right fingers further out, or you could even bend your right elbow a little bit. And then take your left hand over to your right knee, come more upright with the spine, and bring the right fingers back behind you to turn over your right shoulder. And breathe. Little twist. And then coming back to center. Now let's take the hands behind the back and see if you can interlace your fingers together behind the back. If not, you could clasp onto something between your hands, like a little strap or towel or t-shirt or something. Pull your shoulders back, slide your blades down your back, and then see if you can slightly lift your hands up off of your back. And then we're just going to do a little twist again. So we're going to just twist a little to the right. Twist a little to the left. Keep your spine upright, but we're just kind of rotating around the axis, as it were. And then come back to center. And then this time the left hand's going to come to the ground and the right arm's going to go up and over for a side stretch. Breathe into this. And again, if you want to walk the hand further away, you can go ahead and deepen, but try not to lift up the opposite hip just to go further. And then taking your right hand down to your left knee, hang on there, and then the left fingers move behind the back to the floor. Turn over your left shoulder, little twist. So we're just kind of checking in with the spine in all directions. Let's go ahead and untwist here, and we're going to come to the floor into tabletop for some cat-cow. So we've done a little side stretching, we've done a little twisting of the spine. Now we're going to move a little more, well, up-down while we're in cat-cow, but it's sort of like a front-back movement. So as you inhale, lift your head and tail up, and then your chest and belly drop down. So you're moving your heart towards the floor. And then exhale, tucking your tailbone, roll through the spine, let the back arch up and the head come down. The navel pulls into the body. Inhale, coming to, this is cow pose with the sway back. Exhale, going to cat pose with the arched spine. Now we're going to start to add in the Ujjayi breathing practice here. So we've already got a little bit of a rhythm going with the body, and we want the breath to match that rhythm. Theoretically, as we practice, we really want to have the rhythm of the breath set and the body follows that. But here, as we're just getting started, we can kind of use the rhythm movement of the body to encourage the breath to find a rhythm. And then the next feature, and this is actually the signature feature of Ujjayi, is the back of the throat narrows. And as you do that, as the breath moves in and out, there's a subtle kind of rushing, whispery sort of sound that occurs. And then coming back to center, spread the fingers wide. We're going to tuck the toes and lift the knees just about an inch or two off the ground. So you still feel like you're in tabletop. The head is reaching forward, the navel is pulling in. So don't drop the head off the neck. Shoulders are over wrists, hips are over knees. You'll feel the abdominals start to work, or at least that's the aim here. Now from here, we're just going to go ahead and start to lift the hips higher and move back into our first downward facing dog. So the arms extend, the chest moves back. Take another moment with the legs. Maybe walk the feet a little further back. Bend one knee, let the opposite leg straighten. And then switch to the other side. Take it back and forth. And then let's go ahead and take your knees back to the floor. Now this is a level 1 practice, and I know most of you have probably taken yoga before and don't need exactly level 1, but I'm going to go into this anyway. So let's go ahead and drop the hips back to the heels. This is child's pose. If you just let yourself kind of rest on the floor, forearms down, forehead to the floor. This is a resting pose, but so is down dog, which we just did. Obviously this is much more weight given into the floor, much less work than down dog. So if you need to come to child's pose in place of down dog, you always can do this. Now the other alternative is sort of something in between. So from here, if you want to tuck your toes under, press the palms, engage the arms, and then just lift the hips, or keep the knees on the floor, but let the hips lift up. So it's a little bit more, you're still lengthening the spine, but you're not letting the hips come to the heels. This is kind of a puppy dog pose, so you could do this in place of a down dog and between a down dog and child's pose. Now from here, if we want to come to down dog, keep the arms extended, keep the spine long, just lift the knees an inch or two off the floor. And without moving the shoulders forward, see if you can just straighten up the legs, coming all the way to down dog here. Breathe. So this gets a nice long down dog. Down dog can be done with knees bent, with heels lifted, and oftentimes that's the way it is, but we want length in the spine from hands to hips. Look to the front of the mat. Let's step or lightly or walk the feet up, coming all the way forward. Let your feet step about hip distance apart, so not quite together. Soften up the knees, let the upper body hang. If the hands hit the floor, you can grab your elbows, but if they don't, and everyone's a little different, you can just let the arms dangle, but you're trying to just let the upper body go. Loosen up the back of the neck by nodding and shaking the head, and you can sway a little bit through the torso. Maybe bounce the knees to soften.
And then release the elbows. Keep the feet about hip distance apart for now, but let's roll up. So we're going to keep the arms dangling and the head hanging. We're stacking the spine. Eventually we get to the point where the shoulders roll into place, but then the head will come up last. Shoulders back and down, take them down a couple of times. And then let's just stay with the feet about hip distance apart. We're going to inhale, reach the arms out and up. And then as you exhale, lift the heart, bend the elbows down to about shoulder height. Little back bend, tuck your tailbone in. Inhale, come back up, straightening the arms, straightening the torso. Exhale, tuck your tailbone in, lift your heart, maybe look up, bending the elbows down. Inhale, exhale one more time. And then inhale, come on up. And exhale, swan dive forward over the legs. Now, if you're not at the front of your mat, whichever is the front for you, and it doesn't really matter if you're in your home, just whatever's most convenient. Go ahead and come to the front of the mat. We're going to step the right foot all the way back. So take it all the way back. Keep your left knee stacked right above your ankle. We're going to take a high lunge here, but before we come up with the fingers, reach through the back heel and really engage that back leg. If this is too intense, you could always take your back knee down, but otherwise, strong and stable through the front leg, long and extended through that back leg. Bring your torso up, and then reach the arms up. Just for a moment, bend your back knee and kind of tuck your tailbone. Get your torso aligned so that it's almost like you're right upright over your back thigh. Lunge a little deeper. And then see if from here you can keep all of that lift you just found, but straighten the back leg a little bit more. Breathe here. Steady your gaze at one point to help with the balance. And as you're here, maybe you lunge deeper into the front knee. It can come to 90 degrees. Now, hands to the floor. Plant your palms. Keep that right leg really strong and extended behind you. We're going to step to plank. So just the left leg really needs to move. Don't let the shoulders or hips move too much. Keep yourself nice and grounded. Reach through the head, reach through the heels, pull the navel up towards your spine. And your tailbone is actually kind of reaching towards your heels. So it's not lifting up, right? We want it to kind of more go towards the, not dropping down to the ground, but towards your heels. So reaching behind you. Now let's lower to the floor. Take your knees down first. And then if you can lower slow, keep the elbows over the wrists and think about moving your chest down between your hands. Don't let those hips land first. And then we're going to keep the hands next to the chest. Baby Cobra. So lift your shoulders up. Lift your chest a little bit. You're just using the muscles of the upper back. So not a lot of work here. Gaze forward. Relax the legs. Now from here, root down through the hands, press to the floor, tuck your toes, engage your quads, and see if you can. Bring your shoulder blades down to your back. See if you can just push straight up to plank. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Lift the hips, move the chest back. Take another moment here to settle into your down dog. And again, if you need knees on the floor, puppy dog pose or child's pose, that's fine. Otherwise, just try to lengthen the spine in downward dog today. Breathe. Inhale, look to the front of the mat. As you exhale, step, walk, or you can hop the feet forward if you like, all the way to the front. And then bring your fingers to your shins. Press into your shins, let the head reach forward. So the shoulders and ears come away from each other and your head moves away from the tailbone. The feet press into the floor. Pull the navel in so it's really strong. The back is really flat here. And then take yourself back to a fold. Fingertips on the floor. Let's step the left foot back. Step it all the way back. Really get it back there. Knee over ankle on the front leg. Strong back thigh. And then float yourself up carefully. Come on up. Maybe hands to the hips for a moment. Make sure your hips are squared towards the front edge of your mat. Now take a moment. Bend the back knee. Tuck your tail under. Get really upright with the torso. Lunge a little deeper. And then reach the arms up as you straighten the back leg. Push through that back heel. Breathe. Gaze forward at one point ahead. Now take the hands back to the floor and trying to keep your back leg really strong and stable, just smoothly step your right foot back to meet it. You're in plank again. Now we're going to lower down. Now you can take your knees to the floor first as we did, or if you're up for something a little more vigorous, Chaturanga Dandasana. Lean your heels over your toes and then start to bend your elbows so your shoulders come forward, lowering everything down all at once. Then keep your hands next to your chest, pull your shoulders down away from the ears, and come up, a little effort in the arms for Cobra. Draw your shoulder blades together and try to move your heart ahead of the heads of the shoulders, if that makes sense. Tuck your toes, lift your knees and hips, and we're back into downward facing dog. Take a couple resting breaths here. So if you're just holding and resting in down dog, I like to think about lengthening on the inhales by pressing the hands down and reaching the hips away. Deepening on the exhales, which maybe is leaning the chest back. Maybe it's straightening the legs. But if you straighten the legs and all of a sudden your back puffs forward, keep the knees bent. Inhale, look to the front of the mat. Exhale, step or lightly hop forward. Inhale, take a half lift to that nice flat back. Exhale, fold. Now, make sure your feet are together. We're going to bring the big toes to touch, heels slightly apart for the classic front of the mat standing position. And then we're going to inhale, reverse swan dive. Come all the way up. And exhale, palms together in front of the heart. We're going to go into a couple of sun A's. I'm actually going to move to the other end of the mat, but whichever side makes most sense for you to work from. We're going to start at the top of the mat. Bring the big toes, again, big toes to touch, heels slightly apart. Bring your palms together in front of the heart. And then tune into the breath. So we want to key into the rhythm of our body, and we're going to follow that breath as we move. So narrowing the back of the throat again. This is our Ujjayi breathing practice. Steady out your inhales and exhales. And we're going to start to follow. When you're ready to go, open the eyes. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. If out, you run into something, you can always go forward. Exhale, swan dive forward, either arms to the side or in front of you. Inhale, take a half lift, flat back, reach your head away from your tail. And then plant your palms. Step to plank and lower down. And maybe those knees come down first, up to you. Inhale, take a Cobra pose. And exhale, roll over the toes, lift the knees and hips, move to down dog, and breathe. So we've done all of these poses already. We're just stringing them together. We'll hold for a few breaths in downward facing dog, and then we'll come back to the front of the mat and we'll just flow again through this sequence a few times. Just really, this is a full body warm up. Inhale, look forward, so just gaze up. Exhale, bend the knees and step, or if you want, you can lightly hop up. Inhale, take a half lift, flat back. This is Ardha Hanumanasana. Exhale, fold all the way down. That's Uttanasana. Inhale, press the feet. Come up long and strong. Reverse your swan dive. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. And keep flowing, following the breath. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold to Uttanasana. Inhale, lift to Ardha Hanumanasana. Exhale, step back to plank and lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, on the tops of the feet, Cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog, and breathe. Holding for a couple breaths. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, bend the knees and step or hop there. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold down deep. Inhale, reverse, come on up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Follow the pace of your breath. It's okay if you're ahead or behind me. Just keep following your breath and seek that rhythm. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Hanumanasana, half lift. Exhale, high to low plank. Inhale, back bend, up dog or Cobra. And I'll talk about up dog in a moment. Exhale, downward facing dog. Breathe. Inhale, look to the front of the mat. Exhale, step or hop the feet forward between the hands. Inhale, take a half lift, flat back. Exhale, folding deep. Reverse swan dive, come on up. And we're gonna get started on the next one, and we'll stop at a point, so hang on, but just keep following the breath for now. Inhale. Exhale, fold Uttanasana. Inhale, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, step to plank and lower all the way down to the floor here. And we're just gonna hold. So Cobra, the thighs stay on the floor, hands are next to the chest. This is what we've been doing. Heart forward, shoulders back. If you wanna take up dog, it's a little more advanced, but it might be accessible, so don't hesitate if it makes sense to you. You would actually walk your hands a little closer to your hips, a little bit. The toes are extended, so very important because you're gonna be on the tops of your feet. Press down with the hands, engage your quads, press down with the feet, and lift your thighs off the floor. So I know it's a little hard to see on the video, but now only my hands and the tops of my feet are on the floor. Now, if you're here and you've kind of got your knees down and you're sort of lifting your hips up off the ground, instead you're better off putting your thighs down and taking Cobra. So in Cobra, thighs are fully on the floor. Up dog, only tops of the feet are on the floor, but our hips are still slung low. So there's still a deep back bend. Heart is forward, shoulders down and away from the ears. And then if you're an up dog, you just kind of float the hips up. You're still on the tops of the feet. Flip over your feet and you're in downward facing dog. Holding and breathing here in down dog. So that's just the difference between Cobra and up dog. You can always choose which to take. Cobra is a little bit more, well, I guess up dog is more advanced. Cobra is sort of more the medium pose. Let's take the right leg up, open the hip, bend the top knee. So point your knee to the sky, let the heel drop to your left hip. Little variation on a down dog split here. Look forward between the hands, step the right foot all the way up. If that right foot does not make it to the front of your mat, use your right hand to help you. We really want to have a lot of distance from the front to the back between the 2 feet. Now with the fingers still on the floor, step your left foot a little left, not all the way to the left, but just a little more, and then pivot your left heel down so it really roots into the floor. Keep your front knee bent, float on up, hands to hips, square forward. Warrior 1, take the arms up. A little different than crescent pose. In crescent, we had to rely a little more on balance. Here we've got the back heel down, so we don't have to worry so much, but we want to work the hips to square towards the front edge of the mat. So your hip bones should be across from each other, and then your shoulders are stacked directly on top of your hips. Arms go up. Maybe bring your palms together, look up towards your thumbs. Keep lunging into your front knee. One more inhale here. And then exhale, hands to the floor. Step back to plank pose. And then you can take this vinyasa if you like it. So you'd lower down and you can come to Cobra or up dog. So if you're coming to up dog, the legs actually never touch the floor as you transition. Exhale, down dog. Let's take the left leg up, open the hip, bend the top knee, point the knee to the sky. The left heel is now dropping to the right hip. So your hips are twisting open. The left hip stacks over the right, but the shoulders should stay level in front. Look forward and step your left foot between the hands. Before coming up, step your right foot a little to the right, pivot your back heel down, keep your left knee over the ankle. Coming up, and if you want to help yourself out with by bringing the hands to the hips for a moment, it can really help to try to get that squared forward feeling. Keep lunging deep. Press into the outer edge of the back foot if you can, and then take the arms up. There is a natural back bend that happens in the low back here, but we don't want to exaggerate it. So think about slightly tucking your tailbone under, but then if you'd like to, bring the palms together, just lift the heart, look up, breathe. Keep lunging. And then hands to the floor, and here's a vinyasa for you. Now, if you're lowering chaturanga and coming to up dog, see if you can just flip over the feet, and the knees never come down. Exhale, down dog. Breathe. Inhale, look to the front of the mat. As you exhale, bend the knees and step or lightly hop forward. Inhale for a half lift, feet together. Exhale, fold. Now we're going to come to chair pose. I'm just going to turn a little to the side. So bend the knees, sink the hips down and come up. Instead of letting those hips move way back, we're thinking more of navel in, tail down, weight to the heels. So the knees are pointing directly toward the toes. Arms up, gaze forward. This is working your quads, so you should feel it here. One more inhale. Exhale, fold over the legs, Uttanasana. Inhale, take a half lift, come up flat back. Exhale, step to plank. We're going to take another vinyasa, but at this point, if you'd rather not, so you can either modify and start going back to knees to the floor in Cobra, or you can just skip it and go straight to down dog, and that is fine. Breathe here. Now let's inhale, come forward to plank. We're going to roll to a side plank on the right. So we're going to pivot to the outer edge of the left foot. See if you can just get to like the knife edge of that back foot. I know it's kind of hard to see, but we're on the edge here. And then we're going to step the left foot, either modified version, right out from the hip, knee over ankle. So you've got a 90-degree knee here. Take the top arm up and stack the shoulders, or if you want to take the full version, your foot would stack all the way back. The inner edges of the feet line up, lift the hips. Breathe. Maybe look up towards the top thumb. And then turn to the floor. Let's go ahead and take knees to the ground for a moment and take a child's pose. Hips to the heels, forehead down. And then let's come back forward with the shoulders, and we'll do the other side. So coming to plank, tuck the toes, get yourself nice and long through the body. And now we're going to roll the other way. So to the outer edge of the left foot, edge of the foot on the floor. Step the right foot, either modified version, knee over ankle, or full version, inner edges of the feet stack. Take the top arm up. Now notice if your butt like kind of sticks out behind the pose. See if you can tuck it in as you lift the hips up. Lift your gaze, flex into both feet, and breathe. Now turn back down, you're in plank. You can take a vinyasa, or you could go straight to down dog. So if you're taking the vinyasa, you'll lower, you'll take a back bend, and then go to down dog. A little more work to take that vinyasa, but if that's what if you want some more effort in the practice, more challenge, you can keep those vinyasas. Inhale, look to the front of the mat. Exhale, bend the knees and step or hop forward. Inhale, take a half lift. Exhale, fold, bend the knees, sink the hips. We're going to come to chair again. So this is Utkatasana, and then we're going to straighten the legs and come to standing. And then let's take a nice wide stance. So facing whatever direction makes sense for you, that you can take a nice wide-legged situation. Okay. We're going to turn the right toes forward. So see if you can just pivot on that right heel so that the right heel and back arch kind of line up. And then the back toes, turn them in, but just a little tiny bit. So just a nudge. Take the arms out at shoulder height. Let's come to triangle. So we're going to keep the front leg straight. Think about lifting this quadricep muscle here so that we're engaging the thigh. Lengthen the sides of the body, reach the right fingers forward, but like imagine that the arm is in the same track as the leg. Reach until you just can't get any longer here, and then take the back of the hand to the inner shin, or if you want to put it down, that's fine. And then the top arm goes up. Keep the sides of the body long, press the feet down, reach your head away from this hip. Press the feet. Breathe, strong feet into the floor, and then press the feet down and float on up. And let's just turn the feet. We're going to go the other way. So pivot. Now the left toes turn out, the right toes turn just a little bit in. Front heel and back arch line up. So check out your foot position. That's going to help with the alignment of the whole pose. Arms at shoulder height. Tuck in your left hip. Sides of the body nice and long. Reach through the fingers, but they're in the same track as your toes. So we're not leaning forward, right? So try to keep yourself just moving to the side only, best of your ability. And then hand to the inner shin. Now, you can put your hand and just rest it, but what sometimes happens is then the shoulders start to drop forward and we just lower down. But what we want to do is keep ourselves like in a plane. So I think sometimes the back of the hand against the inner shin helps that top shoulder to lift and open. Look up towards the top thumb. Keep reaching your head away from your hip and ultimately away from your back foot, which is pressing down a lot. Breathe. Now float on up. Let's parallel the feet for a moment. We're just going to take a nice wide-legged forward fold. So toes point forward, hands on the hips. Lead with the chest, lead with the heart, and folding down. Go ahead and take your hands to the floor. Fingers and toes should line up here. So it might just be on your fingertips, but see if you can line up your fingertips with your toes. If you're able to go further down, you might be able to plant your full palms. Lean forward toward the balls of the feet and engage your quads so that muscle right above your knee, activate it. Lean in, breathe. Head hangs heavy. Now press the feet down, bring your hands back to your waist and float on up. And now we're going to turn the right toes forward again, but this time we're going to go to Warrior Two. So in Warrior Two, shoulders stay over the hips. So the hips stay level. We're going to now, instead of keeping the front leg straight, bend the front knee, and you're just bending it right in line with your ankle. So you can kind of look and make sure that you can see your big toe still inside the knee. And if you need to widen your feet, that's fine. But notice if you have a tendency to kind of lean, or if you have a tendency to hike up this left hip, see if you can keep the hips level and the shoulders over the hips. But then just turn your gaze, look over your front fingertips. Press into the outer edge of your back foot, and then turn your front palm up. Keep looking at your fingers as you reverse warrior. The legs don't change here, just the upper body is shifting. Back hand lightly on that back leg, and then keep lunging that front knee forward. One more inhale. And then as you exhale, go ahead and take the arms back, straighten up the front leg. Let's just change directions here. So pivot your left toes out, right toes in slightly, arms out, and again we've got the hips level as we can get them, shoulders over hips, arms out, bend your front knee toward your toes, and now your left knee towards your toes. Front heel and back arch line up. See if you can keep your alignment here, and then look out over your front fingers. Keep that right hip dropping down as you bend into the front knee. Check and make sure you can see your big toe inside of that left knee. Now turn the front palm up, reverse warrior. The back hand can just rest lightly on the back leg. Back leg stays straight and strong, front knee stays deeply bent. Look towards your fingers. And then go ahead and come on up from there, straighten the legs, turn the toes back forward. Let's just jump in. And step back to the top of your mat, whichever end that's going to be for you. And we're going to take another vinyasa here and start to string together some of our standing poses. So big toes touch, heels slightly apart. Let's go into chair pose, Utkatasana. So drop the hips down, knees toward toes, inhale. Exhale, forward fold over the legs. Fingers to shins, take a half lift with a flat back. Exhale, step to plank and lower down. So same vinyasa here, but if you want to skip it, you just go straight to down dog. Take your back bend and now and then down dog. From down dog, let's take the right leg into the air. So just one inhale, take it all the way straight up. Exhale, look forward, step the foot to the front of the mat. Pivot your back heel down. Inhale, come on up for warrior one. Now we're gonna open to warrior two. So the front knee stays over the ankle. Step your back foot open a little bit. Inhale, reverse warrior, and then let's take an extended side angle. So for an extended side, put the forearm on the thigh, and then let the top arm create a diagonal. Keep dropping your left hip and lunging into the right knee. Look up under your arm toward your fingertips. Breathe. And then to come out of it, let's take another reverse warrior. So keep lunging forward, but stretch all the way up and back. And then just like cartwheel the hands all the way around that front foot. Step back to plank, lower down your vinyasa. And breathe. And let's do the other side. So let's take the left leg into the air, nice and strong. And then look forward, step it up between the hands, back heel pivots down. Inhale, coming up for warrior one. Exhale, adjust to warrior two. Front heel and back arch line up, drop your right hip. Inhale, reverse warrior. And then moving to extended side angle on the other side. Drop the right hip, lunge into the left knee, look up under your arm, and lean your head back to see your fingertips. Breathe. And then reverse your warrior and hands to the floor. Moving through vinyasa, make your way back to down dog. Breathe in downward facing dog. So let's flow all of that together one more time. And this is a dancing warrior sequence. So next, inhale, look to the front of your mat. As you exhale, bend the knees to step or hop the feet forward. Inhale, take a half lift. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, sink the hips. Inhale, come to chair. Now try to keep following the rhythm of the breath. We're going to do one breath per movement. Exhale, fold to Uttanasana. Inhale, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, step to plank and lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, Cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up. Exhale, step it forward between the hands, back heel down. Inhale, warrior one. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, extended side angle. Inhale, reverse it again. Exhale, high to low plank. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, down dog. Inhale the left leg up. Exhale, step it forward. Back heel down. Inhale, warrior one. Exhale, open to warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, extended side angle. Inhale, reverse again. Exhale, high to low plank. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Hold here and breathe, or if you need to take your knees to the floor for child's pose now, go ahead and do that. That's some vinyasas. Breathe. Now when you're ready, on an inhale, look to the front of the mat. As you exhale, bend the knees and step or hop the feet lightly forward. Inhale, take a half lift. Exhale, fold down deep. Bend the knees. Let's come to chair pose, Utkatasana. And then straighten the legs and come to standing. Okay, let's do a little balance practice here. So we're gonna stand on the right foot and we're gonna basically bend the knee like a chair pose again. So you're gonna bend into your right knee and cross the left ankle just above the knee. So you're creating like kind of a four shape, or feel like I'm backwards for, but in any case, bring your palms together. So this base knee is a little bent. I'm gonna turn a little to the side so you can kind of see. We're gonna keep the chest up and lifted, but start to sink the hips down. Now you're gonna help your balance if you can gaze at one point focused ahead of you. However, we're now gonna start to deepen this a little. So we're gonna fold down. We're gonna move the chest down towards that front shin, just a little bit at a time. Breathing. Maybe the arms come to the shin. I know the floor is temptingly close. Try not to reach for it just yet, but keep the right knee bent so the hips are still low, center of gravity coming low to the ground. Now, when you're ready, let the arms come in front of you. Bend your knee enough so that you can get your fingertips to the ground, and then see if you can straighten your right leg, let the left leg fall off, and then reach it up into the air for a standing split. Now, if you need to have your fingers on a block or a book or something here, that's totally fine. But if you can get the fingers to the floor, allow your torso to fold deep towards your right leg, and your left leg can lift high up. So it might be that it's just at the level of the hip, and that's fine. But if it's available to you, take the leg higher than the hip and fold in. Now, from wherever you're at, we're gonna step the left foot back, and we wanna just come to a nice long lunge here. So we're gonna take the back knee down to the ground, so however you did that, and we're gonna extend the back toes, and we're gonna move the hips back over the back knee, flex into the front foot, the front leg is straight. So if you do have a block, or even whatever it is that you can prop your fingers up on, whatever's laying around, a box or something, you can use that here, but you might not need to. We're gonna do a little bit of hamstring work. We're gonna take, this is called Ardha Hanumanasana, which is basically half split. So we've got our back hip over our back knee, and if this is too much on your knee, again, an add-on could be maybe a little blanket or something under this back knee. But from here, we're gonna start to just fold over the front leg and pull the toes back towards you. So you're getting a nice flex in the foot. The sole of the foot is like vertical. Fold in. As you're doing this quad on the right side is engaging. So pull the leg deeper into the hip socket if you can. So think of it that way. The hips are staying square and you're folding. Now, if you're pretty open in the hamstrings and you wanna go a little deeper, we can go in towards a more full splits. So you would just start to slide that heel forward and extend yourself out. Don't force this. If this is not for you, then don't do it. And if your front knee is really bent here, then take it back in. So we want to be working with not a locked knee, but a straight leg. So the quad is engaging and that leg should look straight from a visual perspective at least. But if you're going down a little lower, you can let that foot extend. Try to keep drawing your right leg back. Even though the heel is forward, we're drawing the right hip back or the leg deeper into the hip socket. And then the opposite with the left. So we're moving the left femur deeper into the hip socket by bringing it forward. Breathe. Now come out of this carefully. So you might need to, like me, I get my mat all caught under my foot. But we're gonna step back to downward facing dog. So take yourself back to it. And you might need to shake out one of your legs here. Whatever needs to happen, give yourself a moment. And then inhale, look to the front of the mat. As you exhale, step, walk, or hop the feet forward between the hands. Let's just roll up. So come up nice and easy, stacking the spine. Take the shoulders back and down. And then let's go to the other leg. So this time we're gonna stand on the left leg and the right crosses over. So we're bending that left knee again. So just a reminder, the left knee is bent, and that actually creates almost a little shelf so that it's easier to rest the ankle above the knee. Press your palms, sink the hips down. Heart is still up and forward at this first point. So have a gazing point, help yourself out that way. Now we can start to fold, and this actually is a hip stretch, so we're still balancing, but you're gonna feel this in your right hip over on the side as you start to fold on down over your shin. Try to keep the balance here and maybe bend the left knee even more to deepen this and also bring your center of gravity lower to help with balance. Now, as we think about coming to standing splits, we're going to try to get the fingers to the floor. And again, if they don't reach, but you can have something under your hands that kind of brings the floor up to you, you can certainly use that. If you're able to, straighten the left leg and then just let the right leg float up into the air. Fold down. Breathe. So sort of we know splits where you want to get the legs as far apart from each other, they just draw away from each other, and that's sort of the goal here. So they may not be very far, like it might just be like almost like a warrior 3, which we didn't do today, but if you're familiar with that. But if you can lift that right leg higher, do it. And then we're going to step the right leg back, and now I'm in the middle of my mat, so I'm going to have to adjust both feet, but we want to use the whole mat now. The left foot is forward. Take the right knee down, and if you need to pad the knee, please feel free to do so. Straighten up your front leg and flex onto your heel so that the sole of your foot is up. It's a little wobbly here, right? So that's why if you need a block, you can use a block. And especially as you fold, sometimes the floor is just too far away, especially if you have tight hamstrings. So let your fingers be on something to stabilize you here so that you're not putting yourself in danger, right? Never that. Flex the foot. As you fold, draw the left leg deeper into the hip socket, and this quad is going to engage. So the leg is straight, but we don't want to lock down on it, so we don't want to like push the kneecap down. We're working with the muscles, hopefully not the joints. Fold down into it. You should feel the stretch here, but protect yourself. Don't make it too intense. Now, if you want to go deeper, again, the option is to slide your left heel forward. And then sometimes it's easier if it gets off the mat. My mat is really slippery or sticky, so it's hard to keep it going. But then, as opposed to just like shifting my hips and dropping to the floor, the goal is to keep drawing the left hip back and the right hip forward, even though the legs are doing the opposite of that. Breathe. And then when you're ready to come out, be careful, take it slow, hands to the floor, step back to down dog, and then maybe shake out the left leg. It could maybe use it here. Ooh, okay. Let's take the right leg into the air, open the hip, bend the top knee, point the knee to the sky. We're going to set up for pigeon stretch. So now we're going to get into the hips. Bring your right knee forward behind the right wrist. Let the shin cross the mat. This is actually somewhat similar to what we did in our standing balance just a moment ago. So our knee is wide, the knee is to the right side of the mat, the foot is to the left side of the mat, and the shin is in front of us, but it's probably at a diagonal. Get onto the top of your back thigh, extend your back foot directly behind you and fold. Now I've mentioned this before, but if you have a hard time, if your right knee is causing you trouble, then you can come to your back. So this pigeon stretch is for your hip, but if you're feeling pain in your knee, then come to this version where you cross, like we did out standing, really. You're crossing your right ankle above your left thigh, reach behind your left thigh, and draw the legs towards you, as opposed to the opposite, which we were just doing, where we're letting the chest move down toward the legs. So wherever you're at, just breathe. If you need to put something under your right hip to keep from rocking fully to it, you can always do that as well, whether it's a block or, I don't know, a little ball or something. And then when you're ready to come out of this, we're going to stretch the back leg. So bring your right fingers to the floor to help. Try to keep yourself pretty upright here and then bend the left knee. And if there's just no way you're going to cut your foot, just lay the leg back down and just focus on getting more upright here. But if you are able to catch the foot, then you can draw the heel towards the hip. Breathe. And carefully let that go. hands to the floor, step back to down dog, and we'll do the second side. So kick through the right leg if you need to, again, just to release it, and then take the left leg up, open the hip and bend the top knee, point the knee to the sky, and then pull the knee forward behind the left wrist. Let the shin cross the mat. Use your right toes to help you really walk that right leg back. So if you don't do this, what ends up happening is you end up sitting on your foot and coming too far forward. So if you can really use your right toes to walk the leg back and get on the top of the thigh and extend the foot behind you, then your shin is right in front of you and you can fold down over it and you'll get a better stretch for that left hip. And again, if you need to come to your back, you would just cross your left ankle above your right knee against your right thigh, reach behind the right thigh and pull in. Try to keep your head and shoulders relaxed on the floor. Okay. And take some time here, breathing. And then come up when you're ready and we'll stretch the back quad. So bend your right knee behind you. If you can't reach it, then put it back down. But if you can reach it, pull the heel towards the hip. Use your left fingers to keep moving the heart up so that we're not collapsing forward with the upper body. And then let the foot go behind you. Hands to the floor and back to down dog. Shake out the left leg or kick through the heel if you like. Ooh. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, step or hop the feet to the front of the mat. Let's turn the toes out and come to a squat. Knees over toes. Okay, so don't do a lot of arm balances in level 1, but let's go for it a little bit today. So we're going to practice crow pose here. If it does not appeal to you, you can certainly just stay with our nice wide-legged squat. This is Malasana or Garland Pose. And some of you may find that it's very hard to get the heels down, and that's okay. If you're just on your toes, it's a little more balanced, but it's okay. You're going to bring your arms inside your knees, press your palms, and move your heart forward. So this is called Garland Pose because if you want to, you can take the arms out and then wrap them behind and just try to get your fingers to reach. It's very hard to do, but that's why. If you can wrap all the way around, then you create that little garland. Malasana, a mala, which is a string of beads, is also what they're thinking of as a garland. So this is called Malasana. Okay, so now, for those of us wanting to play a little with some arm balance, crow pose, you want to take your upper arms under your shins. And I know that's a little easier said than done, but the goal is that your upper arms are a shelf and your shin is going to rest so that as we start to bring the weight forward onto our arms, we don't have to work real hard. We're not lifting the legs, like we're letting the legs kind of rest. So bring the hands to the floor in front of you, and you want to have them about shoulder distance apart and, pointing forward, right? So we're not turning the hands in or out in some weird way, but kind of just a natural hand alignment. And then we're just gonna lean. So there's a lot of leaning that has to happen and a lot of just sort of trusting that you can stay here. I'm gonna move back a little bit on my mat so I can stay on my mat, but you wanna lean in and then you're gonna have to move, before you can get the feet off the floor, you're gonna have to move your weight over the wrists. So some of that's lifting hips up or lifting the mid back up, and then just try to float the toes off the floor. And maybe it's just one set of toes at a time, and then maybe you do the other set of toes, and then you switch off, or you can try to lift both of them. And if you fall, it's not far from the floor, but that's not the goal, right? The goal is to not fall. But if you happen to, if you're scared of falling on your head, sometimes people will put like a pillow in front of them just as a little safety net. So you can try that as well. So again, let's just give it another try. Arms under the shins, moving the weight up and forward. Now, eventually the elbows will just stack over the wrists. So the arms do kind of need to be bent here as you come up, And then the feet can maybe just float lightly off the floor and then just bring them back down. And that's all there is to it. Let's come to our hips. We're going to take a boat pose, Navasana, hands behind the thighs. This is also a balance pose, right? Shins extend, heart lifts. Take the arms out. Breathe. So all balance work engages the core, even if it feels like, oh, this is all in my arms or all in my one leg. The core gets activated too, so that's not a bad thing. Bring your feet to the floor, hands behind the hips, pull your shoulder blades together, so plug them into your upper back. Let's take a reverse table. So go ahead and lift the hips up. Keep the knees over the ankles, chin in, or you can take your head back. Try to get the hips as high as the knees here. And then take your sit bones back to the floor, and we'll do one more. So hands behind the thighs, heart rises, shins extend. Now, if you have a hard time keeping yourself upright when you let go, if you start to slump, then keep your hands behind your thighs. It's okay. Try to keep your chest lifted. But if you can stabilize there and then also let go of the hands, it's just going to be a little bit more strengthening. Now, let's just see if we can go real fast here. Feet to the floor. Use your hands. Rock back to your feet. Come back to a squat. And just before you think about it too much, see if you can come to crow pose. Gotta let your body figure it out sometimes. It's not all in your head. Breathe. And then when you're ready to come down, let it go. Let's come to the floor. Go ahead and lay down, but keep your knees bent. We're gonna just do a little bit of back bending here from the ground. So tuck your shoulders underneath you here. So see if you can get your shoulder blades flat underneath you and let the upper arms rest on the floor with the fingers pointing up. The knees should be, well, the heels should be slightly away from the hips. So if you extend your arms now, you should just be able to graze the edge of your heels. And if you need to move your feet a little further away or a little closer to make that adjustment, you can go ahead and do that now. Feet are about hip distance apart and the toes are pointing directly ahead of you so that the knees are going to ultimately come up right over the ankles. Now bend the elbows again, push the upper arms down, push them into the floor, push the feet down, lift the hips up. Just let them float up. And so we're using the feet and the upper arms to push down to let the hips come up. So it shouldn't be a lot of gripping in the back. Now, if you have more open shoulders, you might be able to roll to your right shoulder and pull your left arm underneath you, and then roll to that left shoulder and take your right arm underneath you and lace your fingers below you. And then you've got a little more room to play with. Press the feet down, lift the hips up, and breathe. Heart is moving like up, but also open, right? So we're trying to create a rounded shape, not just a straight lifted like diagonal. And then when you're coming out, get the shoulders out of the way first. Slowly roll your spine back to the floor, one vertebra at a time. And take a resting breath or two here with the hips on the floor. And we're gonna take one more. So I'm not gonna talk into wheel today, but if you have a more advanced practice and you wanna take a wheel pose here, you could take a wheel for the second back bend. But let's go ahead and just talk into the second bridge. So the feet press down, the arms press down, lift the hips up, and then if you did on the first side, see if you can roll those shoulders underneath you. Press the feet down and move the hips up. And make sure you can still breathe here. One more full deep breath. Try not to turn your head from side to side, although I just did. Terrible me. Uh-oh. Let your shoulders roll out from underneath you. Ooh. Take the right knee in. Extend the left leg out in front of you. Nice and long. And we're just going to do a supine twist here. So take your left hand onto your right knee and just pull that knee over to the left. Take your arm out to the right and turn and look to the right. And then coming back through center, switch to the other side. So take your right leg out, take the left knee in, use your right hand on your left knee and pull that knee over to the right and turn your head back to the left. And then come on back to center. Grab hold of your shins, and then we're going to roll from shoulders to hips a couple of times. So rolling through the spine. And the last roll, we're going to try to roll right up into a boat pose and hold. So see if you can roll, balance, keep the arms out and the legs out, and the head and chest up. And then maybe reach for your feet. You can grab the big toes or the outer edges of the feet. Push the feet into the hands. Lengthen it all out. Lift your heart, stabilize here on your sit bones, and then take the legs into a nice wide V. Heart forward. Push the feet into the hands to kind of keep your balance here. And then soles of the feet together, knees go wide, edges of the feet come to the floor. Let's take a little Ardha Hanumanasana. So bound angle pose. Edges of the feet down, knees wide. Use your elbows to gently press those knees open, and then use your legs to gently press up against the knees as well. So it's kind of a push-pull. Let your arms win, but keep a little resistance in those legs. Breathe. And then the upper body can start to fold forward as well. And then slowly come on up. And let's go ahead and go into Shavasana. So we're going to keep the left leg tucked in, but take the right leg straight out in front of you. Flex into the right foot. Angle your torso towards the right leg. And then fingers to the floor, start to fold in towards that leg. If you need to sit up on something here, that's also an option. So if you have a hard time with forward folds, if your hamstrings are really tight, or if all you're feeling is this in your back, maybe lifting your hips a little can help you so that you're actually angling forward over your leg. Fold down. Breathe. Don't worry if your hands can't grab your foot. Even if they can grab the foot, sometimes it's actually a little bit nicer to just have the arms rest on the floor so you don't have to strain and just give the weight of the arms to the ground. And then walk the hands in carefully, come on up. And just switch to the other side. So left leg out, sole of the right foot in, right knee drops wide. Angle your body towards your left leg, flex the toes back towards you, and then folding down. Breathe. Again, hands can be on the floor or wherever they naturally fall. And then come on up carefully. And let's go ahead and cross the legs. Good. So if you're still watching at this point, I do encourage you to take about 5 minutes or so after we're done with this practice to lay out on your mat and give yourself a good Shavasana to restore. Just let go of the body, give up to gravity, and enjoy that for a few minutes. But let's just close the practice for now. So palms together in front of the heart, close the eyes, tune into the breath. Little pressure between the palms so that the elbows are a little lifted. Find length in your spine, let the head float on top of the neck. Give yourself just one final check-in before you go off into the rest of your day.
And let's close with a simple bow forward. The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you wherever you are. Thank you so much for practicing at home with me today. Namaste.